Great. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for coming today. We really appreciate you coming to Business Before 9. It's our second one. Yes, we're back. So first of all, we'd like to thank our corporate sponsors. We have MG&E, Park Bank, and Group Health Cooperative. Also, Hawthorne Suites for having us here. We really appreciate that as well. And of course, Fact TV is recording and doing the Zoom session with people who are on Zoom. We're going to take this opportunity to welcome our new members. Do we have anybody? But we're really excited to welcome MadREP's President and CEO, Jason Fields, today. Yes. Jason joined in January of 2021. He's the founder of the Financial Promise Foundation. He's also the founder and managing director of Dark Knight Capital Ventures. And then he also is a published author of 6 books and hosts a weekly radio show. What else do you not do?
The radio show is done now. So.
Oh, the radio show's done. Okay, well, that's good then, I guess. So please help me welcome Jason Fields.
All right.
Let's go to your slide.
So what clicker, which one?
This one, right here, next.
I'm used to Jana doing all of this kind of stuff. Right, that I may take you up on it. First off, let me just thank you. I've never had a welcome, a clap as a welcoming. That's freaking awesome. Boss, Fitchburg, move them to the #1 part of the list. One, I want to thank you all for welcoming me. I know many of you in the room, so if I slip out of formalities and professionalism is because I think I know so many of you that it's almost like family. First, let me acknowledge all the elected officials. God, I do not miss that stuff, man. I really do not miss that. So, Representative Alderman Aldamato, he and I, same fraternity. Decades. Sean Paff and I go back, former mayor, Tom Barrett days, 20 years. Now, Julia is my boss, and she said, don't call me boss. And don't say Madam Treasurer, because when you're in assembly, you have to speak formally. So Julia's on our chair, the overseer of all numbers and financial numbers. So welcome, Julia. And two, I think, honestly, my right hand, Jana, who, if anything goes wrong, you all, that's who you contact. So Kent is clapping because Kent has experience dealing with us. But Jana is our communication specialist, right hand for me personally. She handles a lot of stuff, and everybody knows I'm big on teamwork. And I'm looking at Jana and I'm laughing because I went home yesterday and my wife, I did something stupid that husbands do. And she said, did you throw away the mail? I'm like, yeah, if it's trash, I just throw it away. She says, I'm gonna be your Jana at home because you don't know what you're doing. So Jana, to let you know. So, and thank you to Lane. Me and Lane go back, couple of years when you started the restaurant. And so Lane, I got here and Lane realized I was here and I didn't know he was here, so we hooked up. And thank you, Mike, Joyce, and everybody. Pam, look, I can go on and on because I know all of you. So here's the presentation in a nutshell. One, what do we do? Because Lane said, what did you say? Jay, what do you all do?
7 years and MadREP everything. Like, what do they do?
So the presentation will go along, what do we do? And then I'll try to hit a couple of points that I think will interest you all to the school district. Make sure I hit a few things that I think you'll be interested in. So MadREP serves 8 counties. We are what I call again, I'm competitive. I used to play sports. And so when I say this, please don't take it personal. It's just a sports thing. I say we're the #1 economic development agency in the state. That's room for debate for that, but when I'm here, you'll hear me say that. We serve or work with 8 counties: Sauk, Iowa, Columbia, Dane, Dodge, Jefferson, Rock, and Greene. So what do we do? So here's the sort of technicals. MadREP promotes the development of a dynamic economy through a comprehensive regional approach to economic. I'm not reading all of that. You can read it, but here is what we do. We are constantly asking and answering the question, is the Madison region a great place to live, work, and play? Now, let me say this as a former legislator. A few things you should know about me personally. I don't care about your politics. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. I do not. My only job is to be effective and get stuff done. That's a personal belief because I try to be a man of God. He works with me consistently. But my personal belief is when I die and stand before God, he is not going to ask, are you a Democrat or a Republican? That said, my decisions are based on what do we need to do to move the needle and be effective. I'm not saying there's not a place for some of that stuff, but what I'm saying is my role is to make sure everybody in our region is moving forward. Oftentimes what happens is we have this sort of divisive us versus them. So when I'm selling our region, I'm not just selling Madison, I'm selling Fitchburg. So I want to make sure you all know I don't just limit stuff to, I don't have favorites. I work with people who want to get stuff done. So we are constantly asking ourselves and answering the question, are we a great place to live, work, and play? If the answer to that is no, then all our actions have to be to answering the next question. What do we need to do to make sure that's a yes? Now, if the answer to that question is yes, then the next part of that question is, what can we do to stay there? What do we need to do to keep it that way? That is so underestimated and underrated. And part of the time, what I've learned here, and this is a person coming from Milwaukee, that there is almost we are okay, we are good. And for a competitive person like me, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous attitude to have when you get comfortable. What do I mean by that? Our region, Madison, and when I say our region, I mean all of us, our 8 counties, because again, from an economic development point of view for our region, it's all one area for me. It's all one area. We were ranked number 1, best places to live in America. What do we need to do to keep that? Just because you're number 1 today doesn't mean you'll be number 1 tomorrow. So that means you have to keep grinding. You have to keep talking to people. You have to keep pushing the envelope to be better from a business point of view, from a quality of life point of view, from just what are we doing to make sure that when anybody looks at us or at our region, they say, this is where I want to bring a company, or this is where I want to raise my family, or this is where I want to work. So constantly asking that question. We ranked in the best places to live, best city for Gen Z, one of the best places to retire. I joke and laugh because I saw one ranking that said we are the best place for senior citizens, to which I called my grandmother and said, hey, maybe you should come to Madison or our region because you alone, and maybe it's a granddad out there for me. If this is the best place for senior citizens, try your luck. Come here and see, explore. Working in the Madison area, ranked number 1 for industrial diversity, ranked among the best cities positioned to recover from a recession. Now, that's just not Madison again. From my point of view, that's all of us. So our region is very good. Our region is very good. We have number 1 rankings. We're always ranked in the top. Number 1 in tech talent inflow, promising metros, top 10 cents for young entrepreneurs. So our region is very good. But when I was moving here with my wife, when I got the job I was interviewing, I was excited, you all. You know, I had just finished the legislature, and at the time, you know, I figured I'm not gonna run again. I ran for the city comptroller in the city of Milwaukee. I lost by 900 votes. That was a gift from God. And I was interviewing for this role, and I was loving it, you all. I was excited. I mean, I felt like Kobe Bryant joining the Lakers. This was the place to be. And I said to my wife, baby, this is a great place. She said, for who? Now, that for who, that's where we got to do some more work. For who? African American Hispanic households experience disproportionately higher rates of housing stress. You can look at the family county median income. You can look at Wisconsin, third worst state in the nation for home ownership. So I don't want to go through all these, but again, for who? And that was an eye-opener for me, because what it did was, it was a realization that we all have work to do. So here are some of the concerns, and I'll get into some of the things that we do after this. And these are all articles from 2021. Workforce shortage challenges reemerge as Wisconsin businesses dig out of the pandemic. Wisconsin sees affordable housing shortages. Child care providers facing staffing shortages worsened by the pandemic. No connection from rural towns to urban Madison. Many still don't have, Alderman Udell, Joyce, we were just talking about this. Many still don't have fast, reliable, or affordable internet. One of the things that happens when companies or people they want to come to the region, businesses are looking to come, we get these RFIs, and one of the number one questions is it broadband or Wi-Fi ready? And if the answer to that is no, you are off the list automatically. They're not even looking at you. If that's the case, then that hurts us economically. All of these articles are issues and problems that MadREP, with the help of allies and supporters like many of you in the room, these are the things that we try to address. So getting back to laying sort of what do we do? Well, number one, we are economic development. Well, what is economic development? And then how does that tie into MadREP? And why should people invest in us? And when I say invest in us, here's where you need to understand how we're funded. Because there's a misconception that we do a lot of these things for free. We can, but Julia is my boss. And Julia looks at numbers. And if the numbers don't look right, Julia is not happy. And if Julia is not happy, I'm not happy. And if I'm not happy, Jan is not happy. So how economic development work is, we have to work just like a consultant, like a business. Meaning the value added proposition is where we focus our efforts on now. What problems are we trying to solve when it comes to economic development? But in order to get to that point, what is economic development? There's a few versions of economic development, what it means. What I liked is, at the bottom of this, the definition that the Indiana Economic Development Association uses is, economic development is the facilitation of an investment that leads to long-term community prosperity. In that definition of economic development, it used to be a three-legged stool where we talked about business attraction, new business development, business retention, and expansion. You can add two more stools to that, where it's community development and workforce development. That in its entirety is our approach to economic development, holistic economic development. So what's our value added propositions to potential investors, to potential municipalities? What did we have to do in MadREP? We had to, number one, ask the question, why should people invest in MadREP? Lane, what do you do? Okay, the team sat down. What are our value added propositions? Meaning when you deal with us, what's the win-win situation for everybody? What problems are we trying to solve? So here, we started launching our MadREP business vertical, our vertical markets, monetizing broadband. When I first got here, we looked to partner with a provider who could come in to any municipality, help your municipality or city get set up with broadband, and then turn it into a potential revenue stream for you. And they would do that for free. They also would help you go after grants, because what we realize is that a number of places and locations in our area, in our 8 counties, they're smaller shops. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the bandwidth. So our partners and us would help you with writing grants, laying out a plan to get broadband, and particularly look at that last mile, which you all know is a huge issue. Workforce development, talent, database, and workforce transportation. We've launched at MadREP, and you all will probably be the first to hear about it now publicly, but we've launched a pilot program to use some vans to get workers to and from work. One of the things that we really wanted to do was focus on real life problems and solutions. None of this fluff headline stuff that I see going on. And let me take a minute to vent, because it really irks me. So I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna move on. John, to make sure I move on. There is a lot of money coming down the pipeline. Here's my concern about that. That's great. But at the end of the day, when you look at the way that money is being allocated, the question remains, in 5 or 10 years, what will the return on that investment be? I have to be honest and very candid, because it is a passion for me. 90% of the stuff that you see directed towards people of color is garbage. And here's why I say that. Because it does not empower those communities to be self-sufficient and build. What it does do is hand money out for a moment of time, and then after that money is gone, what do you have left? What's next? So what you've done is you opened up the floodgates. We've invested some money, but we didn't help anybody. Right? That's a drug deal. You got somebody hyped off some money, and then when they needed more, the trough is empty. Without technical training, without understanding what these businesses really need, you didn't do squat. And it pisses me off, because I watch it, and I watch billions of dollars go to programs and people that is not helping my community. It's not helping them be strong. It's not helping them be sufficient. It's not helping them get to the next level. It's just cute stuff. And that irks me, because you have to understand that hurts all of us. If we are a community, then we all need to succeed. And we all need to question, are we really empowering people to be successful, or are we just chasing headlines? Now I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Innovation, entrepreneurship, and access to capital. We created a revolving loan fund, $324,000. We're working on a housing fund, because again, what's the value added proposition? If you are a business entrepreneur, we want to be in a position to help you have access to capital. If not through us, but then through maybe some partners that we have in our network. So those are the things that MadREP does that will help us be a sustainable organization. Meaning, it's not wise for us to be an organization that is just reliant on grant dollars. That's a stupid business model. If you're not generating income, or if you're not generating some stream of revenue, then when another pandemic comes, when another depression comes, when financial organizations or nonprofits that do large amounts of dollars, when the money shores up, then what do you have left? It's a dumb business model to be dependent on grants. So that said, the way we get paid is just like many of you. We have to hustle, we grind. I have to get on the phone and call people, hey, this is what we do, what's the win-win situation? If you're a municipality, here's what we can do in return, you pay us for it. This is not free. We don't do the free stuff. So you all spread the word, MadREP don't work for free. Now, we have to do that, but yet we also have the mission-driven stuff that we consistently have to do. We market some of your towns, some of your villages, some of your programs. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I think we're getting to a point where we do that better. Rowan, how many times did we talk to you? Rowan is like part of the staff and team, just an extension of MadREP. But looking at the marketing and data, diversity, equity, and inclusion, what we are playing with now is a business retention and expansion sort of program, and I'm playing this, and I have to walk you through, but you all should know it's potentially coming. meaning not just our municipalities, but MadREP should partner with your municipalities to come to you, all of your businesses, and go, what do you need? What's happening? What's going on? What's your outlook? Because that does a couple of things for municipalities. Number one, it prevents you from losing businesses, right? It prevents your business from saying, you know what, nobody's talked to me. I don't know what resources and help that's there. I don't have the connections, so I can go somewhere else. So when you launch a real business and retention expansion strategy, what it means is getting out there on the ground, talking to some of your businesses. Rowan and Mount Horeb, they've done a good job. Mike and Joyce here at Fitchburg, they've all done a good job. So how can MadREP partner with you all and do that even more in 2022 and going forward? We have to understand what businesses are doing. So those are our mission-driven kind of projects. And so when we look at, is this a great place to live, work, and play? It starts with talent. It starts with bodies. I mean, you've all been out. You see what's happening. We need bodies. There's a problem or a cliff that we're headed to where when you look at the older generation retiring and we don't have enough people coming behind them into some of these positions. So what are we doing to develop that talent? Now, a lot of places, hospitality, things of that nature, manufacturing, what's happening is a lot of those places are competing for the same bodies. So if you're in the hospitality industry, you need to understand you are competing with someone in the manufacturing industry. If you are a small business and you're looking for bodies, you are now, it's a competition now. And it is a sort of labor market in a sense where people are not just coming to work anywhere. So what makes you different? What's the value added proposition you almost have to give for somebody to come and work for you? Those are the things that we have to start with. And so some of the things that we do as Inspire, participating and working more with school districts, here's where you and I need to connect a little bit. One of the things that we're launching is an internship apprentice program with TDS, who will give internships, paid internships, we're looking at 8 students to go and work as broadband service technicians. So we're looking for careers and jobs that have a pathway, right? And partnering with school districts to see what can we do to begin to develop that talent pipeline. My personal preference, and I'll talk about this at some point, we need to have balance. We don't have enough, again, communities, disenfranchised communities, communities of color moving into STEM type areas. I've said this to a couple of members on our board. Black folks and Latino folks are more than just barbershops and restaurants, man. If that's all we're doing, you're not helping. There has to be balance to that. When you look at some of the top growing areas in science, technology, engineering, and math, why are we seeing programs directed towards getting kids in that pipeline? Because if all you're doing is certain areas, certain fields, you're not helping. In order for a community to be fully sustainable, you have to empower that community to be in a position to create wealth, right? So the more people you have contributing to the tax base, the more people you have contributing, that's how you do this kind of stuff. So MadREP's Broadband Action Plan, I'll make sure if you all don't, there's a link, and I would ask that you all go to that link, take a speed test at home and at work. That helps us map our 8-county region. And if you ask Alderman Udell, you can't really start the discussion with broadband unless it's mapped already. Would you say that's correct? Correct. So if we really want to fix the issue, the starting point is map. We have to see who has what, where it's at, and then devise our game plan from that. So I'll make sure you all have this link. But one of the first things we wanted to do was, let's not just talk about broadband, let's actually start doing something. Let's get in the game and actually do solutions. Here's our regional cluster. I don't want to spend too much time on that. We're also focusing on more international. How do we attract international companies to our region? Mike came up, and I think you guys submitted for some stuff. And Mike and Joyce, you always submit for a lot of stuff. So just a shout out to them for when we have companies that are looking to come here. There's a process. We get these RFIs from the state. We send them out to Mike and Joyce, people like that. They look at the areas in Fitchburg and go, hey, that company, that organization would be great here. Here's what we can do. That's the process. Now, what we want to do is how do we, number one, retain our businesses here, give you all the help that you need, make sure we're not losing. That's what I call defense. Forgive me if I go into the sports metaphors. It's just a thing. But then we also have to play offense. Again, what are we doing to attract companies here? So here are a few of the initiatives that we're talking about. And then we'll open it up for questions if you all don't mind. Number one, lab space. There was a study done that said during the pandemic, a lot of office space, retail space, when you look at the demand for it, that started to die down, except for lab space. If you really want to get in the game, you need to be looking at lab space. You'll see me issue an op-ed that ties the lab space and the science, technology, engineering, math and diversity. But lab space is for new frontier. Growing demand for lab space, that is what will continue to make us competitive. MadREP doing more partnering with organizations that can help you go after grants funding of that nature. There's a list I'll get to you, Lane, that has it's an email list of different grants from state agencies, from tourism to WEDC to all of them, Department of Revenue. So there's a link where if you click on it, it's all the grants in that department. One of the things that we understood was that in a lot of areas, in our district, I should say, is people don't have the bandwidth and the time to go after some of these grants, so they need help. So our job is to partner with those individuals who can do those grants and maybe bring them and expose them to you all so that you have some help going after those dollar amounts. We worked on the Build Back Better grant, and the first Wisconsin Innovation Grant, and I think for 2 months, we were tied up, huh? 2 months. We didn't get any of them. So imagine my frustration when I realized for 2 months, I put my team on this stuff, and we didn't get it. That's my frustration. I can only imagine offices or cities or municipalities or chambers that could go after these grants but don't have the bandwidth. So one of the things you'll see us starting to do is how do we partner and bring organizations that specifically work on grants funding with your municipality, your chamber, your businesses. And then a small business toolkit. We administer the Main Street Bounce Back program for the state of Wisconsin. Anybody heard of that? I gotta digress for a sec. Can you come up and tell them your experience?
Oh, sure.
I know this turned into a radio monologue and stuff.
So I applied for the MadREP Main Street Bounce Back program, and I got a $10,000 grant for my business. So when he came in today, I almost bum rushed him with a hug to say thank you so much. Hi, Roland. Hi. And yeah, it's so the money is real. It was really awesome. I was very detailed. The stuff we had to provide for the grant application, and so I couldn't be happier, and it's helped my business a lot. We have our rent paid through July. We're getting improvements done in our studio space, so thank you very much for that.
See, Joe, that's a great campaign move, man. Always have a testimony, brother. See, fraternity brothers think alike, you know? Thank you for that. So we issue the Main Street Bounce Back program, $10,000 grant if you're expanding into an empty space, local retail space. Very easy to get, not very hard at all. Rowan, would you agree? Not a complex problem, not a complex process?
No, it's super easy.
All right. So, but in that, one of the things that we started to see was a number of businesses did not have the technical resources to understand there's a sort of a process. And when I say that, not just a process, but also understand after this $10,000 grant, what happens so that you're continuing to build. That means Who's your accountant? Are you interpreting your balance sheet the right way? Are you looking at your cash flow statement? What's your internal processes? And so people like the MadREP, Jessica Cavazos, Camille Carter, all these individuals will start to look at what can we do to grow your business. And that's not just businesses of color, that's anybody. What can we do to make sure that one of the gaps, you all, is that after you've gotten past 1 or 2 years, there's really not a lot of help. So one of the things we did was Packer with the Green Bay Mentor Protege program that specifically wanted to target businesses that have been in existence for 2 years or more to help them get to the next level. So that's a targeted program, but from a MadREP point of view, we want to continue to take that mindset and continue to facilitate that. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, what we do. Did I answer that, Lane? Or?
You did.
All right.
Emphatically.
Emphatically. Questions? See, I'm a married man. I'm always looking to what are we doing now? Yes, Sean.
So just a quick note, I don't know what the newest numbers are. My friend Chad, who's a city manager, maybe knows, but in the 2010 census, Fitchburg had 34% African American Hispanic residents. I'm assuming that number's going up. Proportionally, that is more than the city of Madison. So it just tells you how diverse this community is. I guess my question for you is you have a unique background coming from Madison, or coming from Milwaukee, coming to Madison, understanding state politics and R versus D, and I appreciate what you said about that. But with your job, you are one of many agencies that can help economic development. And there's a lot of money out there. WEDC at the state level has got a ton of money. Mike and Joyce work hard to work with WEDC to get us dollars out here. How do you navigate all of that? Because you are right, there is so, whether right or wrong, the pandemic, federal government put a ton of money out there. And how do we work through that Byzantine type to make sure that we can get it here? And also in your region, how do we make sure that city of Beloit that has some needs that are different than Reedsburg?
Yeah, great question. The question is, how do you navigate all of the ARPA dollars that are coming? How do you navigate the current systems? And it really boils down to, I think, and this is what I say to a lot of small businesses, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So everybody in here, and this is another ask, and I'll continue to answer that question. We will be launching a sort of a system where with the press of a button, all information from us consistently goes out. You all should join on our email list, because the email list we send out these updates, and some of those are funding alerts. And so Jess sends those out. What do we send those out? Every 2 weeks? So we send those out. But where I want to take it is with the push of a button, if there's information that needs to be readily communicated to all of you, you can have it, so that you're not wasting a lot of time as to who to go to and how to navigate it. Meaning there's a way to function more efficiently. That said, a lot of it has to do with who you know. And so the first place I would start, can I say Mayor Sean? Are we still doing that?
It was a great job, I loved it.
Mayor Sean, for any small businesses, know who your elected officials are on every level. And have some kind of relationship. I mean, it doesn't have to be in depth, but you should know them, they should know you, so that if there's information coming out, you can sort of speed up the process so that you have some idea of where to go. Secondly, look for these kinds of, again, get on our email list, because when there are certain grants that are coming out, webinars with the EDA, they have these, what should you be looking to do if you want to go after federal grants, federal dollars. Pay attention to some of the things that we do. We hold, I don't want to say webinars, but we call them town halls. So we'll be probably holding a couple of more town halls on what should you be doing if you want to go after this grant. Get plugged in with your chambers, and so that, if they're plugged into MadREP and the city, which we all are, quite honestly, MadREP just has to be a little bit quicker, and that's my role. So I think how you navigate it is, number one, pretend you're Kevin Bacon and try to be 6 degrees of separation from everybody. So the more people you're connected to, the faster things move. So that's how I think I've always advised people to navigate a lot of that stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Rowan.
On the bounce back grants or Main Street bounce back grants, have you heard if they would continue that program past June?
I'm laughing, Rowan, because our team is like, no.
Yes.
But I know they are looking to go after more dollars. And so if that's the case, then there may be another allocation to MadREP, which means we can help more businesses. Our total allocation was meant that we could help 400 businesses. We're sort of at that level already. So if we get another allocation, then I'm imagining another 200 businesses we will be able to help. Yes, Alderman.
I noticed the MadREP map is very similar to like the Madison College region. How does MadREP work with their technical colleges?
So so on our board is the UW Chancellor Blanks, the technical college from Black Hawk Technical College of Madison. We work well with them. In fact, I'm having lunch with the chancellor today after this meeting. Me and the number 2, Mark Thomas from MATC, that I had a meeting scheduled with Tracy, the president of Black Hawk Tech. And so what we're trying to do again is, what kind of programs do you have where we can sort of make the connection? I'll tell you my purview of how I perceive this. MadREP, we're like the quarterback, and that's not just because I was the first African American quarterback at Milwaukee Lutheran, but it was high school. Now I'm up here like Al Bundy. I was playing football. I was scoring 4 touchdowns. Let me have my moment, everybody. So one of the things that we have to do, I think, is that because we see so many people, we have to do a better job of connecting them all. And so when we talk about education, trying to bridge that gap between the Verona School District and those colleges, getting everybody in the same room. And so that's how we really work together. Again, one of the things that we're looking at doing is, when I look at the careers of the future, meaning if we know that broadband is an issue, then we know that broadband service technicians will be, there will be a demand for that. There will be a lot of demand for providers, telecommunications type companies, not just in broadband service technicians, but in a lot of different pathways, a lot of different careers. So our job should be to convene. Hey, this is what we're looking at doing. Black Hawk Tech has a cybersecurity program. Can we look at Verona School District and maybe partner with a communications firm that has a relationship, maybe launch a pilot, maybe not, maybe just convene a meeting and have you all run with it. But that's how the relationship works. That's a great question, though. Yes, sir, Andrew.
This is kind of more of a compliment than it is really a question, but I want everyone in this room to realize how fortunate Fitchburg is to not only have the relationship with MadREP, but I work with chambers of commerce all over the state. And especially the last 2 years, I mean, emails, I joke with people, I used to spam people once a month, and then during COVID, it was once a day, once an hour, depending on what was changing. But the information that was being shared by this chamber to you was the most precise, concise information that was available out there and still is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that e-blast that came out and said, hey, Jason Gabir speaking about this. So extending a compliment to this organization in collaboration with MadREP, that the opportunities here to know a lot of these opportunities,
Yeah.
You're already ahead of the curve compared to other communities and organizations.
Yeah, Fitchburg, you guys, you're doing, I had an opportunity to, of course, we work with Mike and Joyce quite a bit, but I've had an opportunity to sit with your aldermen, all 3 of them, as we talked about broadband, and you guys got it going on here. I mean, you're doing some good things. And to Mayor Sean's point, your population is increasing and your diversity is increasing. You guys actually have a lot of good stuff going on. And I think the best way to keep that going is, again, to consistently be in communication. And for all of you who are members, just stay plugged in, because again, it's the information that needs to get shared, and the faster you can get that information means the faster you can act on it. Any other questions?
What's your 30-second elevator pitch when you meet somebody about this region, Jason?
I don't, you know, I typically, and this is old school business training as a salesperson, I usually shut up and listen. You know, and I think because of that, and you mentioned it, so my 30 elevator pitch is really a reaction off of what I believe the individual is looking for. I don't go into something trying to sell somebody on something because, again, what I have noticed is you all have, the communities are different. Mount Horeb is different from Fitchburg. You know, you all have different plans and different goals. And so it's not a one size fits all. So I'm usually trying to listen to what are they looking for. And a lot of it has to, you know, this is a great place to live, work, and play. That's what I'm always trying to tell people. If you are a company, this is not just a great place where you can find a great workforce, an intellectual workforce. The tourism here is great. There's a lot of things to do. I have to get used to everyone's version of it takes a long time because I'm from Milwaukee and my mother grew up in Chicago, so 10 minutes to us is like a cakewalk. I mean, when I got here, I went somewhere and the guy was like, "I'm so sorry, it's so far away." He was like, "It's 10 minutes." Dude, that's a walk, bro. So I have to get used to this region's version of time and what takes long. But I think it all goes back to this is a great place to live, work, and play. And I'll wrap that up with this question. We were on a international call, Japanese culture, business individuals, and we were talking about the labor and all of that. But I listened and I said, you know, we have a great place where you can go and bike and walk. And people underestimate just how strong that kind of stuff is. Just the regular, after I'm done with work, what else can we do? Biking and walking and seeing the scenery, that stuff is peace. That's a asset that people want. And so someone said, "Jason, they don't want to hear about that." And the guy shut him up and said, "No, actually we do. Because our people in our community, we care about that kind of stuff." To which I then looked and was like, "See, told you so." And shout out to Pam, you all, who was one of the first people to welcome me here. I always call her Pam, the myth, the legend. Any other questions? Yes, Jessica Cavasco, president. Me and Jess goes back like 22 years.
Yeah. And Sean, because we were on the same team.
All of us.
Right?
Like, which begs the question, why did y'all let them in? Yes, Jess.
So it's more of a comment and a compliment, you know, on economic equity and the state of Wisconsin. You know, we're doing our statewide tour, so we're going to these small cities, and we're noticing the browning of America, right, as we speak, and the diversity of the workshops that we're conducting. And there's just a mix of everybody in the room. And so we were in Platteville, and it was interesting to see the business owners, the Alderwood people who are in coming to our workshops, African American, Asian, and they're all looking for the same thing, right? They're all looking for information on how do I improve our business districts, how do we improve access to resources, and it really brings a lot of hope and then a lot of disappointment in the fact that there are not a lot of resources going to those communities when it comes to communities that are still challenged by the divestment. You know, when we talk about divestment, it's really about communities that have to catch up in order to make it to understand, you know, where they're at economically. And so I hope that MadREP continues to be that voice, especially when I'm seeing that the state is just, you know, people are inviting people in. We just signed a contract with the Baraboo Chamber to do more economic equity, you know, building partnerships. It's very important to build partnerships and to co-depend on each other. So as an advocate, because I see you as an advocate, you remember we advocated back in 1999, but I think that MadREP would be a great asset to the state as if we continue being a voice on the why, right? So.
Thank you for that. I'll close with this if you all, one of the things that we have to get over is, again, and this brings it back to the competitiveness. When we are competing, it's not just your city against another place. It's much more broader than that now. It's international. And so our attitude, to some degree, has to be, if one of you wins, we all win. And because when you think about it, it's a bodies game. It's a bodies and numbers game. And the more people we can have here, you know, then it's better for all of us. Because again, you know, when you build up demand and when you, what I call, drive traffic to the region, you'll get the bodies and the people, you'll get the companies. We shouldn't be in a position where we're competing from a negative lens with one another. We should be competing from, hey, I see they're doing that, that's good. How can I play off of that or assist in that and get stronger? You know what I mean? What supply chains or what supply lines could we exploit? But that, I think that's just a belief attitude system. When I'm competing against North Carolina. I'm competing against France, that's, if I believe, is making a huge play on the plastics industry. I'm competing against the research triangle in North Carolina. So I have to make sure our region is competitive. And that means having a strong region means having a strong Fitchburg and working with Mike and Joyce and listening to what it is they do, what they want. Because they're on the ground, they know better, listening to Lane and you all here at the chamber. So that's the way this thing goes. It's not we come in here as MadREP and tell you all, hey, this is what you should be doing. That's not it at all. That's never been my approach. It's always listening first and seeing what's the value added proposition and where can we meet. If I can do something, I'll tell you I can do it. If I can't, I can't. A couple of things about me you should know. I don't BS. What you see is what you get. I will not lie to you. If I can help, I'll say I can help. If I can't, I'll say I can't do it. But you will not be wasting your time and you will not be playing games. I do not believe in that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I've always did. That's my mode of operation. And our whole team is like that.
Thank you, Jason.